Hello everyone, welcome back to another video and actually a new plant that I just recently purchased, and it is this little Ming Aralia here. So in this video what we're gonna do is talk a little bit about this plant, where I got it from, how it looks like, what I already have done to increase or improve the health. Then we're gonna work a little bit on it, and of course I'm also gonna discuss the overall future plans I have for this little guy right here. I would say let's start right away with discussing a little bit where I purchased it, how it looked like, and what I've already done since then. So I actually purchased this at a usual box store, and I didn't purchase it in this little pot that it is currently in. It actually came in a definitely smaller pot than that. I'm gonna put some footage in how it looked like when I purchased it 2-3 days ago. It actually was one of those little plugs you can often find in big box stores. So it was really a tiny pot with a bit of soil in it, and of course then the plant in it. However, when I actually repotted it, and that is the main thing I have done since then, I unfortunately had to see that within this little pot there was an even smaller pot that really was very much limiting the root growth on this tree. And that is often the case with those little plugs when you buy them, that inside the soil you will find an even smaller pot that is really limiting the root growth. And getting that off can be very difficult. I do say I probably lost around 30 to 40% of the root mass on this just by getting off the pot. But it has to be done, because otherwise you will always have it restricted in its growth, and it will simply deteriorate the health of a tree like this quite fast. So when you buy little plugs like that, definitely immediately repot them, because they will suffer long term otherwise. So that's actually what I did right away. So I repotted it in inorganic soil, giving you a better view on how the soil is looking. So it's a mixture of different sorts of perlite, lava rock, just really inorganic material in here that allows it for me to really regulate how I take care of this tree, which I find a bit more difficult if we have organic soil. So I repotted it, and that's basically all I have done up to this point. I have not really worked on it yet. I had it a couple of days now where I just made sure it settles into this new pot. But I think as the health has been quite stable, there is new growth coming, I think we can do the first, at least small steps on really changing the look of this tree, because of course in the end my goal for this tree is to turn it into a somewhat decent bonsai tree over the next couple of months and years. So how are we going to do that? With Ming Aralia, what we can see right away is that they do tend to grow very much upwards, so you normally don't really get some spread out that's happening here. So what we actually need to do is, with directional pruning, determine in which direction these growth points will grow. So how are we going to do that? As I said, directional pruning means we're gonna cut back to a leaf that is growing in the direction we want the overall branch to grow in the future. And in my opinion, we need to spread this a little bit more. So I will rather go for the ones that are growing outwards and try to then, in this way, encourage the tree to also grow outwards. So for example, with this tallest branch here, I would go all the way in here, take out this part. So quite a big chunk of the apex, but we should see then here a new shoot forming in this direction where this leaf is on at the moment, and then it grows also in that direction, because that is the highest leaf next to the point where we cut the branch. Other than that, further down, I wouldn't really touch it at that point, because we only have this one branch here on this side. When we move lower, we can see we have two branches here that are coming out from the same point, which in general is not optimal, I would say, because we will have competing growth on both of these branches in the future. So it really boils down to deciding which one looks healthier and is already a bit more established. So let me separate those two. I can see here there is, a small dieback on this leaf, but it also is showing very fresh new growth, whereas this one I cannot really see any really new growth forming at the moment. I also like that this one is already a bit further away from the overall trunk, so I would probably take out this one here that's a bit closer. Just freeing this up. And again, do we take out further part here to already encourage it to grow in one direction, or is this fine for the moment? And as we have new growth forming here right now, and it is slightly spreading in this direction anyway, and because the branch itself is not as strongly developed yet that I don't think it will ramify, so it won't spread out into new multiple branches here, I would let this one grow a little bit more freely still and see in which direction it goes. So is there anything else we can do on this tree? What I do see is that we have those little stubs forming here, and that could actually in the future be dormant nodes that start to throw out new branches. So I will simply keep them on, or maybe I even would simply at the moment leave them the way they are, and maybe by already having pruned back a little bit now, it encourages here new growth to form, because we can only see them really up here, not really further down. So what are my goals for this in the future? And I would already like to talk a little bit about that, also a bit more in detail. And I think probably this one is a branch we might even over the next couple of years probably will sacrifice anyway. Right now it's quite good, it is a bit lower, so it might encourage the trunk here also get a bit thicker still. My goal is actually to, if we don't see new growth forming here on this little stub, so if this has died back too much already and there won't be no new growth, we will cut this flush here and then work very much with this new branch that has formed here, and maybe even get some movement into the overall branch. Normally, Ming Aralia, you don't get that much movement. What you rather get is when it gets thicker and grows a bit taller, that it becomes very gnarly looking, and of course that gives it the look of a very old tree. So that is something that we probably will see on this tree also in a couple of years, but we really do speak about years here. But as I said, we would probably cut this flush, which again could encourage the tree to throw out new branches from lower of the point where we cut it and give us a lot of new material and new branches to work with. But for now, I really would focus all of our design focus and design goals on this little branch here. We could wire this out a little bit. However, as I'm not sure yet in which direction we will grow the overall design of this tree, I would let it grow freely. I can see it's still very easy to bend, because at a point where this gets very woody, Ming Aralia does get difficult to bend. So we still have a couple of months, at least I would say, in which we can decide to just wire this out a little bit, spread it out a little bit and create already some movement in this tree. In the future, for example, just really going in a direction that is more outward moving here. But for now, of course, it is just a little plug. So the next step before really working on it again is of course have it settle in this pot. It will probably stay in here 1 or 2 years minimum to really develop a very nice root system in here and be healthy and strong, and simply let it grow free and wild and just have it develop a nice canopy, a nice strong foliage, and of course also develop a better looking trunk. And then step by step we're going to work on it and improve little things one by one as we see fit over the next couple of months and years. So it's just a little side project. If you do already have experience with Ming Aralia and can give me some tips, feel free to leave them in the comments. I would really appreciate that. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. And of course, if you enjoy my channel, feel free to subscribe to it. Hopefully I will see you then in the next video, either about this Ming Aralia or about any of the other trees I am currently having in my collection. Until then, take care.